problem, so they look for somebody else to blame. And if you can find a big enough group, you've explained everything in your life that doesn't work.
That's the parental conspiracy theory,
it's
right?
not your fault. It's the fault. If it's not your fault or your parents, it's the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the Jews, the Bilderbergers, the Council on Foreign Relations. You got a wide choice to pick who to blame.
Rich white men.
Yeah, as long as you don't have to blame yourself. That's one motive, and another motive is that we are living in very weird times. The world is changing faster and faster, which I think is due to the acceleration of information flow in the modern world. Information is increasing, and the transmission of information is going faster and faster due to internet and the whole computer revolution, which means that most people are living in a world they can't understand. And when people can't understand something, they tend to go for sinister explanations of it. Somebody is manipulating things in a way I don't like. That's the way people feel when things change too fast and they can't understand it. And the third reason is, of course, that there are lots of conspiracies around. None simultaneously apprehended. Apprehended, none simultaneously. Interacting processes. Interacting processes apprehended, none simultaneously.
Let me switch gears with you a little bit. I'd like to talk about your interest in occultism. You've been a student, quite a student, I think, of the writings and teachings of Aleister Crowley, who was a writer about occult magical rituals. And I believe you've participated in a variety of magical rituals. What's that about?
Well, the background is I believe that what we perceive is based on the culture of our parents and our teachers and the people around us and on the language we speak. And I'm interested in ways of changing perception. And I have a lot of exercises I've tried for changing my ways of perceiving the world and myself. Crowley's system of magic is a system of fucking with your brain until the impossible becomes possible, and you get out of your imprinted reality tunnel into an infinity of mirrors where anything is possible. I think the major thing you can learn from Crowley is how to change your focus and look through different grids, different reality tunnels, as Leary would say.
Represents the point in our culture where science and mysticism were allied. They were both attempts to find out what the hell is going on in this universe by experimental method and by trust in the ability of the individual to figure out what the hell is going on just through the method of experiment.
And anyway, that's the background is experiments on altering consciousness and perceived reality tunnels.
In Bruno's day, it was the three terms were divided up differently. You had science and mysticism on one side and religion on the other side. Science and mysticism were allied in their struggle against religion. Science and mysticism were both based on experience, and they were both based on respect for the individual. The idea of science and mysticism was go out and discover for yourself. Find out what works. Find out how the universe is actually structured and how you relate to the structure of the universe. And so there were basically two areas of scientific exploration, the external and the internal. But they were both pursued by the same method, the experimental method.
Originally I was just trying to find out what the hell is a mystical experience. But then I very soon got the idea of re-imprinting, and then I got the idea of using Crowley's magic along with the re-imprinting.
Ritual is to the internal sciences what experiment is to the external sciences. Mysticism understood in that way is basically a branch of science. It's a branch of neuroscience, what Timothy Leary calls neurologic. Neuroscience, what Timothy Leary calls neurologic. As distinguished from orthodox neurology, which involves dissecting animals or dissecting corpses or something. Neurologic is studying the nervous system directly by varying the parameters on which your nervous system functions.
There are different levels of reality, obviously, and the psychedelic level is one of the most fascinating ones, one of the most erotic, one of the most mystical. and above all, one of the funniest. I recommend it highly to everybody over 40. I'm not going to repeat Leary's mistake. I don't recommend it to anybody under 40. Over 40, you're on your own. You're responsible for yourself. Don't blame me for it.
The name Are You Serious comes from directly from Robert Anton Wilson, actually, the book Cosmic Trigger, in which he goes into the serious mysteries. It's also, I mean, one of the great books for just raising your level of clarity and intelligence and psychedelic humor and everything you could possibly want from a book. Cosmic Trigger was the motherlode.
Those of you who have read my book, Cosmic Trigger, know, a lot of you. Well, hey, that's very flattering. You all know what happened on July 23rd, 1973. That was the day I achieved contact with an extraterrestrial from Sirius, or started hallucinating like mad, depending on which way you want to look at it. I have varied between both theories over the years, but I just found out recently, since I'm a student of synchronicity, this one really struck me. July 23rd, 1973 was also the birthday of Monica Lewinsky. Around 1973, I became convinced for a while that I was receiving messages from outer space. But then a psychic reader told me I was actually channeling an ancient Chinese philosopher, and another psychic reader told me I was channeling a medieval Irish bard. And at that time I started reading neurology, and I decided it was just my right brain talking to my left brain. And then I went to Ireland and I found out it was actually a 6-foot-tall white rabbit. They call it the puka, and the Irish know all about it. So it depends on who I'm talking to, which of these metaphors I use to explain where these weird patterns come from that jump out of the books and take hold of the readers and change their lives. It's not me, it's a 6-foot-tall white rabbit from County Kerry. Well, looking back, I accept that metaphor as pretty accurate. All writers are channelers in some sense. Faulkner talked about the demon that dictated his books to him. Norman Mailer talks about the navigator in the unconscious. William Blake said the prophets Ezekiel and Isaiah dictated his poetic, prophetic books to him. Most artists traditionally have talked about the muse. And for people in County Kerry, it's a 6-foot-tall white rabbit. For me, it was an extraterrestrial from Sirius. There are different metaphors for the experience. Philip K. Dick and I had a series of rather similar experiences, and out of his experiences he constructed to Alice, which looks like a science fiction story most of the way, and then abruptly at the end you suddenly find out maybe it's not a science fiction story, maybe it's an account of Philip K. Dick going crazy, or maybe it's an account of Philip K. Dick being contacted by extraterrestrials. Well, the Cosmic Trigger has pretty much the same structure. So Robert Anton Wilson being contacted by extraterrestrials. No, it's Robert Anton Wilson going crazy. No, it's just Robert Anton Wilson experimenting with alternative realities and coming out of Chapel Perilous at the end without believing in any of them. The structures are